Hello and welcome back to Fantasy Turf War, the coolest fantasy football league on the planet because the league has been run out of Antarctica all season long. This is season 2, episode 29, overall episode 105. Knee deep in the playoffs, need to go deep in the playoffs. If you're in that situation, you are in the right place. Hang tight and we'll see how we can break this down on today's show. We are streaming live. Anywhere you can find us, subscribe, like, or share our show or channel. We appreciate you listening in and or contributing to our conversations. And when I say we, that would be my co-hosts, my experts in this fun-filled adventure, Susan, the Gridiron Goddess, and Adam from Fantasy Couriers. Let me pull them in. And let me also say that you can trust them with your advice. You can trust them with their waiver pickups. Just don't ever trust to lay down and give you a cheap win out of it. So please introduce yourselves. Susan, welcome to the table.
Hello. Sorry. How's it going, everybody? I'm Susan, the Gridiron Goddess. Welcome to Fantasy Turf War. Happy to be here. Week 16. Hope you made it to the playoffs. Through round 1, I mean.
Yeah. And I am Adam, DJ Dove of the Fantasy Couriers, and as you can see, we are the Hot Mess Express tonight. We are running around. I literally walked in my door about 15 minutes ago. I had a performance at my school. My students just put on an hour and some odd play, cleaned up a mess, got here, and I just got out of my suit, so I'm ready to go. But luckily, I watched enough football this week and went through the notes. We were talking Cameron before. And how are you doing tonight, Susan?
I'm good. I was solo parenting for a little while. My spouse got home, was taking over bedtime. We're both like, rolling around, but I'm doing all right. I went through to the next round in 3 of my 5 playoff berths.
Okay, there you go.
I'm excited about that. What about you, Cameron?
Well, I am Cameron. I'm representing Shelter Dogs for Veterans. I am in 2 of the 3 outside of Turf War, so made it in half my leagues this year. Can't complain. You know, I was telling somebody just a couple days ago that you just play for the opportunity to get to the playoffs because at that point in time, it's a clean slate. Anything can happen. Yeah, so, you know, we'll see. My playoffs are just now starting this coming week. Of course, Fantasy Turf War started last week. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But, Adam, how many playoff teams do you have and where they stand at this moment?
I'm scared. This is my scary week. I had a lot of first and second seeds. I had 7 teams that are coming next week from 1 and 2 seeds. I had 2 teams play last week, 1 in my charity league. And I just beat my assistant principal. Oops. I love you, Miss G. And then I saw her tonight. I haven't beat her. She's beaten me like every game in both leagues we're in this year. And then I'm in another league where I'm in with JJ Wang and like a bunch of his friends. And I had that tight end we'll talk about later, that quarterback we'll talk about later. And I put up just record-breaking numbers in the wild card game. And I was like, sweet. I finally got a monkey off my back that I'm in the Final Four in that league. I won it the first year, but I've been kind of idle since. So I have 9 games this week. So I'm going to be – I mean, realistically, out of 9, I'm hoping I can win half. I want to come in and say 9. I'm hoping I win 9. What am I saying? Mathematically, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just you're playing for the opportunity and see how far that takes you. We do have news from the Fantasy Turf War playoffs as well. I'll cover that on tonight's show. But the key in the first round of playoffs is just advancing or getting a shot at the final showdown. Some teams, like you mentioned, Adam, everything's opened up for you. They really crushed it last week. And just to give a little bit of a tease in the Fantasy Turf War League, scoring 150 points means you probably destroyed your opponent. 170 points means you probably had a couple of the top scoring players that week. One of the teams from Fantasy Turf Wars for my division cleared 200 points. He had everything aligned. It's like, oh my gosh. So for anybody who's just blown out the numbers early in the playoffs, sometimes they come to wish they could have had some of those points for the next week. I've been in that situation, but best of luck, Zach. Well done. And I'll cover the Fantasy Turf War playoff scene later in the show. So Tons to talk about for this week coming up. But first, let's take a quick peek at last week's headline with our headline news. There was a lot of headlines to be had out there. I know we've just been kind of on the fly here. We do all of our prep to get to the playoffs, but this episode, I think, we're on the fly here. So, Adam, hit us with a headline or something. What do you got for us?
I'm looking here. It's Houston and Jacksonville. If you'd have asked me preseason what I thought of Houston and Jacksonville, I would have said, I like Houston. I've always rooted for Houston, got a soft spot for the team because they lost the Oilers, Texans. That's kind of a cool logo. And, I want to root for a team in Texas. So why not root for a good team in Texas? So, dig. Oh, no, but they're the lovable losers. But then Jacksonville, I thought was a total pile of garbage. And all of a sudden, Jacksonville is the best team in their division. You don't want to play against that defense. And they're scoring points with a supposedly dead in the water quarterback, running back. And this week, we always joke about guys that aren't supposed to score touchdowns called surefire ways to a touchdown. And I threw out Brian Thomas Jr. because he scored a touchdown, which he's been terrible this year. Like, they're good with Brian Thomas Jr. They're probably their best or who we thought was their best offensive weapon, not doing anything. So that team's great. Houston's got a stellar defense. If the offense was just playing okay, other than Nico, who's killing it, if the offense steps up, those two teams are legit teams.
I love that take. Susan, what stood out in your mind this past weekend from football?
Well, I mean, the fact that the Chiefs are out of it, like, first time in a long time. Like, I listened to a podcast, shout out the Sports Gossip podcast. And they kind of talk about like the pop culture and sports world. There was a lot about the Bill Belichick's girlfriend. But one of the things that I saw short that they did was how Chiefs fans now feel like every other NFL fan, like having to deal with a team that they're not going to the playoffs. And Taylor Swift has brought a whole bunch of new fans to the Chiefs, right? Who have just experienced the dynasty. Like, they just know it. This team is so good. And now they're getting the experience that the rest of us lowly NFL fans are getting now that the Chiefs are out of it. With Mahomes tearing his ACL, I don't know how it's the end of the season. Like, is he even going to get to play next year?
That's hard to say.
We'll see. Is Kelsey going to retire now because they're out of it? I personally don't think he's going to retire because I don't think he would want to go out on such a low note. I think that he's not a guy who's like, no, I'm not going out that way. But it definitely raises the questions now for the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions out there. I thought the season was over even before Mahomes had his injury. I thought there was just no way they could make the playoffs. The cards were just stacked against them. It is pretty much like how everybody else has felt when they were losing or not making it to the playoffs. And Kansas City had been there for so many seasons in a row. And I even felt last year's team was a pretty mediocre team. They were winning barely. They had a lot of close games that could have been easily losses. This year, instead of those wins, they did turn the losses. And so it just wasn't a very good team, I think, this year or last year. Interesting to see how that played itself out. Big headline for me. Of course, I live in Florida, so Tampa Bay. They have everything at their disposal. They have the path to get to the playoffs, win the division, and somehow they always seem to lose going down that home stretch. It could be anybody's at this point in time. It feels like nobody wants to win that division, and it's felt like that every season for the last I don't know how long. It just feels like nobody wants it, And now they play a division game against Carolina. It's just frustrating for anybody who's a Buccaneer fan to see this happen almost every year. It's almost like there's an NFL conspiracy that they've got to drive ratings up by making an interesting story somewhere. So let's just go ahead and have a close division race right here, maybe. And oh no, maybe it's right over there. I don't know. It's just like it just seems like they just kind of make it up as they go to try to keep ratings up. So what other things stood out to you, Adam?
Well, I'm going to go back to what you were just saying. It's an interesting thing. In that division, there is not a single team with a positive point differential. So for those of you that don't know, to me, that's a baseball stat for me. I look at a team, if runs scored versus runs against. Yeah. If you're in the negatives, you're a fake team. Every single team in the NFC South, Tampa is minus 27, meaning 27 more points were scored against them. 53 for the Panthers, 60 for the Falcons, 106 for the Saints. But those two teams that are in fighting for first place have put up less points than their opponents, which is just outdoors ridiculous. Like, it's just kind of crazy. What stood out for me is that Phillip Rivers played a football game. Well, Phillip Rivers was there for a football game. He started a football game. He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything to earth-shattering in the football game. He only had 120 yards. He had a tutty. They let Jonathan Taylor just run the ball, but Seattle's just a pretty good team. And next week he's got 2 hard weeks coming up. But we're going to look at later with Mahomes down, with Jane Daniels down. You've got to look at some of these guys, and maybe Phillip Rivers gets his sea legs next week because he's got decent. If he can get comfortable with Pittman and Warren and Pierce and Taylor and Downs, he's got a decent cast of characters that.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't got to bomb the ball. They were talking about, like, Pierce he's the long guy, but he only had one catch, but it was a nice catch. He's adapted his game. So if he can get Pierce was your boy, wasn't he, Susan? Alec Pierce.
Alec Pierce, yeah.
Yeah. So if he changed, I mean, if Rivers gets comfortable, I mean, he was only in the room 4 days. So maybe moving forward, I think the Colts missed the playoffs, but it's an interesting story to see. I mean, we know he came back for the insurance, but otherwise, this is insurance costs.
I literally just saw that TikTok about that. I just saw that.
I didn't know that.
I had no idea. That's crazy.
I thought it was lifetime insurance.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what Adam's talking about, is that this year, the NFL, after you retire or stop playing, provides you insurance for 5 years. This year was year 5. So his insurance, and all of his kids are under the age of 26. So all of his kids are on his insurance. All 12 are still on his insurance. And so now he's going to get 5 more years of insurance.
The NFL just went through the roof.
He stuck it in that game. They had chances to win that game. I mean, they kept Seattle to field goals. That's amazing that they were at Seattle and they could still be in the game. But so a quick question and follow up for you, Adam. Is Rivers good enough to keep them in the playoff hunt, or is it over because of Jacksonville?
I think Jacksonville will probably win the division. I think Rivers keeps him in because he's not going to – I think just watching him, he didn't look great, but he didn't look as bad as Tua did, who had more yards than a touchdown, but he didn't look like Tua still threw out 228. Somehow he had a decent stat line. It looked terrible, but he had a decent stat line. But he didn't look that bad, even though, I mean, he only averaged 4.4 per pass. So, I mean, he's been sitting on his couch for 5 years. What do you expect? So
I think they said he was a high school coach, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he wasn't throwing an NFL player. I think he's been coaching. I believe.
Right. But when I was in high school, and we had our coach was a former player, and any chance he'd get, we'd be out there in the middle of winter with snow on the ground, and he'd be playing all-time quarterback for everybody. Everybody else go out for pass, So I'm just thinking, even as he is a former quarterback and maybe as a coach, he's still going to be involved to some degree, I would think. But he certainly had to be doing something to keep those skill sets up, because you just can't come off the street and not show up flat. So, all right, Susan, anything else stood out to you over this weekend?
I think the other thing is just the outstanding performances for fantasy players that nobody had eyes on.
Yeah. lost the voice.
You're muted, Susan.
You're on mute.
She had some really good points there. I was reading them.
I was going to go straight to the same point that she was making too. All right, let's bring her back. Can't unmute.
There you go. Sorry, guys.
There you go. Now you're back.
I was getting a phone call, and so my AirPods switched to my phone.
Maybe it's a caller asking the question for us.
Yeah.
Live.
Live.
You know what's funny? It's my best friend who's playing fantasy football for the very first time. She's in 2 leagues and got the bye week in 2 leagues.
Oh my gosh!
It's her first
well
season
done.
playing fantasy.
Well done.
We like co-managed a team last year that I just assumed was not there, but then their league got reactivated, and she was just like, "Sure, why not? I'll take care of it." And so like she didn't even tell me she was doing it. Okay. Anyway, sorry. But so Lawrence ETN has been a start-sit question every week from the beginning of the season. He's been better recently. He was probably being paid. I don't know. Pitts was probably on so many benches.
I've learned never to trust him.
And yeah, Bo Nix has not been playing very well. Like it just like fantasy wise, they've been winning games in those 1-score games, but there were just performances this week. Darren Waller.
Waller.
We're going to talk about him later. It was a week of performances that I think ended up probably upsetting fantasy playoff wins. Like I know that there were 1 seeds or 2 seeds, I guess, because of bye weeks, but there were 2 seeds in leagues that I was in that lost because of Pitts and because of ETN. Players that were on these rosters that were not winning every week. So that's
I agree with you. And it is being number 1 or 2 seed in any playoffs. You hate to get beaten by a rent-a player. You know, the person who's been ambulance chasing all year just finally hits it all in the right cylinders the same week. You know, and it's like, wow, really? And how many of those guys did you draft?
Fun fact: are you ready? Let's check your knowledge here. Kyle Pitts has the 5th greatest tight end performance of all time. Probably the only one. Well, one of them might have been only one in the modern fantasy football era. Do you know who 3 other tight ends that might have had those are? They're 3 of the greatest tight ends in the history of the world. But
I'd say Gonzalez.
Okay, so one. Tony.
Really?
No.
It's way before Tony. 1996, 1983, 1981, and 1961.
Oh, I'm not going to get any of those.
No, 1961. Dallas did not have that good.
Ditka, 190 yards and 3 touchdowns. 1996, Shannon Sharp, 153 and touchdowns. And then 83, Kellen Winslow, 162, 3 touchdowns. And the best tight end fantasy points of all time, 57.4 by Kellen Winslow in 1981. 144 yards and 5 touchdowns for the Corey Elliott era.
And those are the numbers that nobody who had to play against Pitts ever wants to hear again, because it's like, okay, he's never gonna do it again, guys. So
I play against the Pitts under.
That's gonna be somebody's claim to fame is, yeah, I played him that one game and I got beat, badly just because of him.
They are playing Arizona this week though, and clearly it worked. So I don't know. Maybe the coach will try it again.
Is this his Alvin Kamara Christmas game? That game killed me years ago too.
I think that's already happened for Pitts. I think that was his Christmas game then.
I hope so. I really, really hope so.
A lot of people hope so at this point in time. All right, let's take a quick word from our sponsor. So Susan, take it away.
All right, let's take a quick time out to shout out our partners at Alpha Clash, the indie comic book trading card game that turns every match into a lore-driven battle for glory. In the Alpha Clash universe, superpowered contenders collide in a fast-paced game that perfectly blends fun and competition. Build your deck, unleash devastating abilities, and outmaneuver your opponent in a game that's as much about brains as it is about bold moves. The artwork will pull you in, the gameplay will keep you coming back, and the growing global community awaits. Head to alphaclashtcg.com and start your journey today. That's alphaclashtcg.com. It's time to enter the Clash, which Alpha Clash is in the playoffs for Turf War.
They are going to cover that in just a moment. But
yeah.
All I can say, Adam, well done on the animations again. But the morbid thought in my mind was going through was those are probably dance moves, really bad dance moves. If you put some music to that, it's going to look a little bit different than what she was reading.
My dance moves are even worse.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. All right. This week's show is entitled Knee Deep in the Hoopla. It is a throwback tribute to an album by Starship, perhaps more notably known as Jefferson Starship. The lyrics Knee Deep in the Hoopla comes from the title track, We Built This City, and there are several fantasy players that can claim that fame this season without a doubt. Fantasy teams in the playoffs have players on their rosters that can probably be in that conversation of We Built the City this year. I looked at the rosters of the 8 teams in the Fantasy Turf War playoffs. 5 of the 8 teams had Hurts, Josh Allen, or Prescott as their quarterback. McCaffrey, Javonte Williams, Jacobs were on multiple teams. Nakua, McBride were on 3 teams out of the 8. Multiple teams had Nico Collins, Chase, or A.J. Brown. And all the 8 teams, they all had strong kickers and strong defenses. And those are the types of rosters you would have expected to make it to the playoffs. So it's good to see that there wasn't a lot of cheap teams getting to the playoffs. But let's give props to the 8 who did make it in Fantasy Turf War. We're starting off with the number 1 seed out of all the teams, Dragons Horde, Division 1. They beat the number 8 seed, Di Battista, 139 to 133. The second seed was Teamer Terry out of Division 2. They defeated Alpha Clash from Division 1. Alpha Clash, our sponsor this year. They beat them 145 to 126. The number 3 seed, Evan Neal, my division, Division 3. They defeated Dan Brown Jr. 201 to 115, breaking a record. And then the 4 seed, Uncle Mike from Division 4, defeated later named out of Division 3, 145 to 100. So very unusual that there were no upsets in that first round. Last year, I believe the 8 seed won the entire tournament. A couple special notes for the commissioner in the scoring sheets. A league record was set this past weekend with 201.22 points from Jake, with Evan Neal as his team, and nobody had even come close to crossing 200 before in this league in any single week. We have 2 teams that amassed over 2,000 points in the season. That was the first time for any one team to do it. We had 2 teams that did it. That was Dragon Horde and Evan Neal. So best of luck to all remaining teams. You are truly knee deep in the hoopla right now.
Did you notice it went chalk too? 1, 2, 3, 4.
They did 1, 2, 3, 4, all 4. I was a little surprised. I had to do a double take just to make sure I got those numbers right. But it's always reassuring that when you know you got the best teams from the leagues and the best teams advance, it just makes for that much better competition. So for week 16, any fantasy football owner is likely to play whoever is their best player in each positions. We're going to do something similar as we did last week, covering the top 10 ranked players, giving our takes on what we feel might be the more riskier matchups. These rankings this week were taken from Fantasy Pros. Last week we used Yahoo, but whatever platform you're using at home, just be sure you've also marked the right type of league, standard versus PPR versus half PPR, because the results may differ in those rankings. And for those people at home, if you want to get our take on your players, on the confidence or concerns we might have with playing them this week, give us a shout out in the chat rooms. So like last week, we're going to go rip through the quarterbacks. I'm going to read off those, and then we're going to talk about who we feel might be the more riskier plays at this point in time. But again, acknowledging if you played them tried and true all season, you're probably going to still play them unless you have multiple options. So the top 10, according to Fantasy Pros for the quarterbacks this week, Josh Allen, Hurts, Drake May, Burrow, Prescott, Purdy, Lamar Jackson, Stafford, and Brissett, and rounding up the top 10, Goff from Detroit. So let's see here. Let's dissect this a little bit here. Adam, I know you've got your name on a couple here. Who do you think might be riskier plays at
I'm
quarterback?
going to use mine to answer one of the questions here from Ray Gamer. So he said Burrow or Lamar in week 16. There's some other ones that we'll hit on later, but the guy that worries me the most is Lamar, because Lamar has been captain inconsistency, and he's playing a very good New England defense. Burrow's playing against a Miami defense, which is actually not terrible. They're just tired. So it's a matter of is Miami luckily plays that terrible Bengals defense, so they might not be as tired. I don't know. But Jackson, I stole your dude. We're going to go together here. Jackson worries me because it's just inconsistency. Jackson could put up 85 points. Jackson could put up 30 points. Jackson could put up 3. And New England's defense, I'm tempering expectations, which scares me because my quarterback is Jackson. So put on your board. You said you're scared for Burrow. So
I am.
And then you tell me, would you start Burrow or Jackson this week?
Ooh, well, let me dissect Burrow just for a moment here. I mean, he came back from an injury. He's been putting up numbers, and everything he's been doing up until this past week showed that he was completely back, doing all the right things, putting up huge numbers, consistency, and that's what he'd always been when he's been healthy, is consistency. But this past weekend, I feel bad for a lot of people who are in the playoffs or in the trying to get to that next round, and they play Burrow, and he puts up a small handful of number of points, like 2 or 3 points or something like that. In some of those leagues, depends on the scoring. It's like they were relying on him, and he just took a dump on him. It feels like I did it a few weeks back when Love put up 6 points the game before Thanksgiving, and then lights it up the week after. Which person are you going to get? And with Burrow's case at Miami, I'm still not quite sure what quarterback you're going to get. It'd be great if you had multiple options, but in the case like we saw in the chat room, now you're dealing with either Lamar Jackson at New England, who I think New England's defense looks pretty good, or do you go with Burrow and believe that maybe you're going to get the Burrow from 2 weeks ago as opposed to this past week? So that one you might have to roll the dice on. If I had to be forced to pick between the two, I'm probably going to play Burrow instead of Lamar Jackson at this point.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Susan, any of these quarterbacks stand out to you as being a riskier play this week, perhaps? Or maybe nobody?
No, I'm a little worried about Prescott. Again, that Chargers defense is just playing better than I think people think that they do. Quarterbacks are only averaging 190 yards against them with less than 1 touchdown per game for the average. They've only allowed 12 touchdowns to quarterbacks all season. That is not that many. And if Pickens is going to be Pickens and not the beginning of the year Pickens, which we kind of saw again, then I'm worried about this offense firing on all cylinders. So I'm very lucky that I have May and Prescott in a 1 quarterback league, so I can make those decisions.
Yeah.
So if you have those guys, then great. And honestly, I am probably even playing, it's hard because I would want to. Lamar is really scary, but he's also Lamar. Do you know what I mean? You would hate. I might play Lamar over Prescott this week just because that game should become a shootout. And I really am worried about what is happening with Dallas's offense.
Well, tell me what Dallas has left to play for this year. They're out of the playoffs. So, I mean, does that change what you do? I mean, yeah, I think you got some great points there. I would be concerned that Chargers defense has been pretty good. Even people on the network shows have been saying it's not the offense that's been keeping the Chargers in the playoffs. It's been that defense that's been doing it. Now you're going against a team like Dallas. It's going to be a good test, I think, for both teams. But are you not sure what Prescott you're going to get or that offense. Great take on that. And Susan, I'm going to go to you next on this running back list. Actually, Adam, I see you got another one here. I think you want to talk about a little bit.
I'm good. I'm just, you said to
Okay.
put 2, so I threw out Stafford
Number 2.
because he's been so good, and Seattle's defense is pretty decent, and it's at Seattle, which is always a tough place to say. So
That's
I
a
mean,
tough place.
you're
And they're
starting Stafford. I'm
Yeah.
benching Stafford because I got Josh Allen, but you're plethora of riches. Like, I looked at the Turf Wars teams. That one you said earlier, like, this team has this. I have a team that has Allen, Javonte Williams, Christian McCaffrey. It's dynasty. Puka Nakua. It had one from every one of those columns.
Jeez.
And I'm playing the Kyle Pitts guy.
All right. Well, we're going to go into the running back list. And Susan, we're going to start with you this time. The top 10 Fantasy Pros rankings for half PPR. Robinson from Atlanta, of course. A-Chain, CMC, Gibbs, Cook, Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, Jacobs, ETN, and rounding up the top 10, Irving from Tampa. Any of those scare you or be concerning for you?
Well, I'm going to have to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. He put up what feels like a dud for him this last week. I mean, if you're in a full PPR league, it's still it didn't like totally ruin you because you had, let's see, 6 you almost got to double-digit points, almost, but that's not who you are relying on Gibbs to be. And they're going up against Cleveland this week, which, again, pulling up the stats, the Steelers, they've only allowed 5 rushing touchdowns and 1 passing touchdown to running backs all season. Their running backs against them are averaging less than 5 yards a carry. So I just worry. He showed that he's not invincible this week, and I worry that the Steelers' defensive front is going to do that to him again.
Yeah, interesting.
I know.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
No.
No, I know.
You
It's
just
like
agree, or is something else going on, or you've got a share of Gibbs.
One of my better teams, I have a Gibbs Bijan for a dynasty league, and so yeah, Gibbs.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you have to start him. Like, he's one of those players that, like, you are starting, but hopefully it's not gonna bite you in the butt like he did this week.
And that's the hard part about this, is that if you have any of the top 10 running backs or receivers, you're probably going to be playing all of them if you have the space on your team to do it. And you could probably make the same kind of argument through the top 15 from each of the running back and receiver positions. But if you are super deep at the running back and receiver, then you might have the flexibility of shuffling them around a little bit. But I don't know if a week I would not be playing Gibbs. But
no,
yeah, hopefully you're not going to be in for a letdown if you played him this week, especially if you got a lot on the line, either in the championship game or if you're trying to advance as the first week of the playoffs. Adam, hit us with the running back you're concerned about.
I mean, I think the real key what we're talking about here is you're mentioning is the playoffs don't get cute. Our shows during the playoffs are to help you and just to have fun too, to be like, hey, temper expectations and build, because you're not – all these guys are starting. So, I mean, I've mentioned it for weeks. Mine are going to be 2 quick hits. JT, Jonathan Taylor in San Francisco. I mean, Philip Rivers only threw for 120 yards. I said that earlier. So, if I'm the 49ers, I'm not worried about Rivers. Let Rivers throw for 300 yards. Let him do it. Stop the guy who's been the offense for that team. And ETN, who's been just murderers row, is playing against murderers row at Mile High Stadium in Denver. That defense is disgusting. We might have ETN come back to earth this week versus the Broncos, which are just such a really, really good teams. Just two good running, 2 guys having good years that might just hit some tough matchups this week.
I am really interested to see if they show the Jacksonville-Denver game in my area. I'd love to see that matchup. You've got an up-and-coming offensive juggernaut with Jacksonville against a team that is sitting at the top of the record charts with standings and stuff. I mean, that Denver defense certainly nothing to sneeze against. I'm really curious when you got two juggernauts playing against each other, what's going to happen. That should be a fun game to watch. The player I'm sorry.
It might be the game of the week because it's a 4:00 game
I've
on
not checked
Fox.
the regional stuff.
Oh
to
no,
see what
Steelers and
might be
Lions.
on.
It's probably the CBS game. Steelers and Lions play, so I'm assuming it's that one.
Yeah, the running back I'd toss out to be a little cautious about is Jacobs. Sometimes you don't know quite what you're going to get. He's been putting up good fantasy numbers the last few weeks in a row, and in fact, one of those games they did play against Chicago just 2 games back. Now they're going to be at Chicago, and now is always going to be a matter of seeing how each coach navigates through adjustments. You've had a couple weeks off. You've seen what they gave you. Now, who's going to do the best job trying to outmaneuver the other coach or outmaneuver the other team? So this is going to be an interesting matchup, not just for Josh Jacobs, which I do have a pretty sizable share of, but between Green Bay and Chicago, because there's no love lost between them, and they just played a short while ago, and they've swapped places this past weekend in the standings in that division. Now they have the opportunity to flip-flop again. There's a lot riding on that game, and I want Jacobs just to blow the doors down, put up monster numbers, but right now I am not feeling comfortable with that in the cold temps at Chicago. All right, let's talk about receivers, and I'll take a quick shot at the listing here. Nakua, Chase, Jackson Smith and Jigba, St. Brown from Detroit, Nico Collins, Lamb, Wilson, Evans, Jameson Williams, and then rounding out the top 10, A.J. Brown. I was of the same impression you were, Adam, before the show. We were talking. I am starting every one of these guys if I have them on my roster. There is not even a second guess. These are going to be your tried and true. They'll be the ones that got you here probably. And right now, you might find a weak link somewhere here, but I'm not willing to call it out as being something I'm concerned over at this moment. So for me, I'm taking a pass on all those guys. I'm lighting them all up and roll the dice with them. Susan, what stands out in your mind of this receiver list, or any?
So I am hopeful, but not for certain, that Mike Evans' workload stays what it was. He is coming back. They're playing Carolina, which they've been okay. They've allowed, they've allowed 10 passing touchdowns to the whole season. They're allowing less than 1 passing touchdown a game on average. But over 130 yards on average to the receivers altogether. So it's not like the yardage could be there. It's a tempering expectations, worried about what the workload really is going to be. They came out swinging with Evans this last game. I mean, again, somebody who was on people's benches who you're like, oh, getting double-digit points on your bench for me. But so I worry, is that going to repeat? Are they going to get Igbuka working again? Because they were certainly trying this last game. They were trying, but because Godwin had a good game too.
I'm kind of hoping that they'll lean more towards Ibuka, because I think he is the future. You've seen what happens when you've got your 2 wily veterans injured for extended periods of time. They got to rely on somebody. And Carolina's got a pretty solid defense there. So, yeah, I could easily see why somebody would be concerned about Evans or the rest of the Tampa Bay core, receiving core at Carolina. Adam, concerned about any of these receivers or not? And then we'll look.
No, but I'm going to throw Sheridan right here for us. Kansas City. They've got some good receivers. I'm not a big Worthy guy. A lot of my friends are more Worthy. He's the stretch guy. But Rice, to be honest, I think Rice can be a wide receiver 1 in this league, or he was looking like it. And then Kansas City, the wheels fell off this year. But Rice is a guy I got that's helped me get to the playoffs. How are we feeling about those guys? Like, are we Is Rice? Are
Well,
we still like? I was just setting a lineup. I think I got to play Rice because of where he falls. Like luckily he's a deeper guy, but is Worthy playable?
I wonder who is playable right now for Kansas City, and that opens up the broader question with Mahomes being injured, and now you're relying on Gardner Minshew. I mean, he's had some
Tennessee though.
stellar
It's
games in the
Tennessee.
past, but
So I pulled up Minshew's stats from 2024.
okay,
In games that he played 100% of the snaps last season, which was a decent sample, he had, so this is just last season, 33 attempts, 38 attempts, 28 attempts, 34, 30, 43, 42 attempts. So he is somebody who is going to come in and sling the ball. And generally when you look at the completions, they're not terrible either. Now, one game it was 25 of 42, but like I think he is a capable quarterback. And if you're looking at the rest of the Chiefs season, because I mean, they're out, but there are still games to play. So there's Tennessee, which, okay. Then Denver, which is harder, but they're also harder to run on than they are to pass on. And then it's Las Vegas. So I think he's going to be able to support that cast. I don't know, but Rice is going to be fine. And then we'll see about what the connection with Kelsey looks like.
Yeah, we've seen this before with backup quarterbacks coming in. Like you said, the connection, we're just not necessarily sure who that connection is going to be with. We would like to say, okay, Rashee Rice is a wide receiver 1 or that type of caliber. I agree with it. I agree. He made an impact when he was in the game. But now with Gardner Minshew, it's like, well, who's his target? Who's his favorite target going to be? I mean, if you look at who is he playing with, maybe on the practice squad or the second tier, receivers, will those guys be his favorite receivers because he's comfortable with them? So in my mind, I don't know who I would feel comfortable with from the receiver core of Kansas City because I just am not sure what that chemistry is going to look like for Gardner Minshew in that type of offense. I know what I saw just in his short duration that he played in that Chargers game. They were in position to tie the game up, and he threw an interception. Game over. It's like, okay, we don't know what you're going to get. I think so. I don't know how to. I'm not sure how I would manage the receivers on my roster at that point. Any thoughts on that, Adam?
Well, he did. What I did notice when he came in, it was Kelsey. He went to Kelsey. He knows who really the best, most consistent target over the years has been for them.
Yeah.
So I think Kelsey's the guy. Like he's going to be on the list we're talking about in a second. I'm not as worried about Kelsey, and I think Susan, like your point, he is a gunslinger. So I'm not wanting to start Minshew. I mean, you might have to. I mean, at that point, if Mahomes, I got a buddy, Mahomes was his starting. Right now, his backup because his dynasty is Shedeur Sanders. So do you start Shedeur Sanders this week after last week, or do you go, hey, Minshew's playing the Titans?
It'd be the easiest schedule. It'd be easy schedule to get him back on track.
That bad of a play. Worthy, I agree. So I agree with Susan. I'm on track with her, and I didn't know where to bring in this point, but something everybody just mark your calendars. Do know that we're in the Christmas season, so college football's over for the most part. I mean, my team plays this week at the playoffs start, but there are two NFL games on Saturday. So
yes.
The Commanders and the Eagles, the Packers, Bears, they're on Saturday, then Sunday, Monday, every Thursday. There's games spread out throughout, and then there's a game on Christmas Day next Thursday. There's games all the weekend. So in the next 2 weeks, if you're still playing, make sure you're aware of those. Pastor Jacques, who's in our division, does this cute thing where he decides every week he wants to be like a manager. He pulls all of his players out. Did you notice that when you're playing him?
Yes.
I almost did that.
Ridiculous. And then he puts them back in. Well, Pastor Jacques was visiting somebody in the hospital Thursday night, and he didn't update his roster.
Oh, no.
In one of our leagues. And Kyle Pitts is on his bench.
Oh
The pastor
no.
visiting person in the hospital, but don't be cute. Just put your guys in the roster. There was almost a revolt because the commissioner almost let him put him in there. It's like, hey, stop trying to be cute, but be aware of the games. Be aware of the games coming up. That's what I got on there. But your question was about tight ends or receivers. My receiver up was T. Brown just because. Tight ends is Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers.
Yeah. So we got the top 10 listing here: McBride, Kittle, Pitts, Bowers, Goddard, Fannin, Parkinson, Kelsey, down at number 8, Schultz and Warren. Again, those are Fantasy Pro numbers, but you were thinking Brock Bowers is on your concerning list?
He's been against Houston all season. He's the reason one of my teams is not in the playoffs. He's been just inconsistent. His quarterback is Kenny Pickett now. Like last week he did. I just had stats up. I was looking at last week. He did have 8 targets for 6 receptions, and he had all of 28 yards. So, and that was against the Eagles, who goose-egged the Raiders. And the Eagles aren't playing that great. Against the Broncos, he had 5 for 46 yards, 4 receptions. So,
well, look at the quarterback. Look what the safety net is, and that probably answers part of the question.
I mean, I would have Kelsey. Kelsey on that list would probably be my number 3 this week. Maybe, yeah. It'd probably be McBride,
Kittle, Pitts. You'd bump Pitts out of number 3 for Kelsey?
I watched how Pitts played the last 5 years. He's had one good game. Put Kelsey above. I watched Kelsey play for 16, or 60, whatever it is. I would put Kelsey above him. If I haven't done my rankings yet, I just imported them right now until I got to start moving guys around. But in that ranking there, yeah, I wouldn't have Kelsey after Parkinson, for crying out loud.
It was the name that surprised me on that list myself. But Susan,
I would have Kelsey my 3rd.
What are your thoughts about the tight end spot?
So Tyler Warren playing with Phillip Rivers. They're playing San Francisco this week.
Yep.
He had 6 targets, but the problem is the yards per target is 3.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Phillip Rivers might be. I mean, he had under 150 yards total this last week. So I just worry about it's going to be Jonathan Taylor. Rivers is going to need to be more of a game manager. So I worry about Warren this week. And he is not, to me, he is not a player that is difficult to pivot out of. I feel like most Tyler Warren managers probably have somebody else on their roster that they could play over him because he came on later in the season. I think he probably was a waiver wire pickup at some point. I know people were kind of excited about him, but he performed so poorly at the beginning of the year. Well, maybe not. What am I looking at?
Most of my leagues, he got drafted. He got drafted, about where you expect some of the better tight ends to go. But a lot of it could have been.
Never mind.
It could have been just some anticipation on future payoff.
Yeah, ignore that I said that. But last week, I mean, he had 6 targets, only 2 receptions for 15 yards. The week before, 6 targets for 3 receptions for only 19 yards. So I just worry about his ability to provide value, and I think that there are better pivot options.
Yeah. Hard to
can we talk about this? Shall I bid high on Parkinson to avoid starting Warren? So who are the Rams playing? Who are the Rams playing this week?
Seattle on Thursday night. I mean, what if Adams is out? Adams is questionable with that hammy. That might change.
Yeah.
That might be the boost that somebody would want at the tight end spot, is to pick up another quality receiver. He would be my next best to go to if I was going to be throwing to their alpha, the other alpha. So
Seattle, I'm using Fantasy Pros has their strength of schedule, not Fantasy Pros, the footballers. Yeah. They have Seattle ranked 23rd against tight ends, allowing 1 point above expected. So I think that might be
interesting.
I think that might be a good option. The stats, tight ends versus the Seahawks, they're averaging 68 yards a game. So if that's all going to one guy, which Parkinson is clearly the one there. I know that Davis Allen gets involved sometimes, but Parkinson is the one. So 68 yards and possibly a touchdown because Adams is out. I think it's definitely something you could do.
Yeah.
How high would you bet? Like at this point in the season, if you have the money, like drop the
You go all in.
I dropped a ton of fab on Philly Rivers because he was a breathing quarterback and I lost everybody. I just lost Patrick Mahomes on that team. So thank goodness I had Philip Rivers.
My feeling when you get to this point in the season, if you have nothing left to lose and you have everything else to play for, you go for broke. You bank on everything you can to make sure you get that person or those people that you need to fill those gaps, or you do it to prevent others from getting it. But I mean, right now you've got a lot of leagues that you're playing in championship week, or you're playing for maybe third or fourth, maybe some draft orders. This is it for those guys. This is your last week to make a splash. You do what you need to do to get that last win.
Well, and schedule wise, like Parkinson plays Atlanta in week 17, your championship week.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's better than Warren playing Jacksonville.
Oh, by a long shot.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
I agree.
So,
yeah, the only person, I mean, I love all you guys' takes on the tight ends. I think you guys are spot on there. The only thing that I have on my list is Pitts from Atlanta. Yeah. Just temper your expectations, everybody. Don't expect another monster game like that. You rarely see this out of any tight end, as we talked about before, but you rarely see this out of Pitts ever. He has maybe one or two good games a season. I've learned over the last many years not to trust him, not to draft him. So again, if you're going to roll the dice on Pitts, good luck. Just know that you're not looking to get that 30-point game again. You might be trying to shoot for the 50, 60 yards maybe instead. But again, you never know. That's why they play the game. All right, great breakdown, everybody. Okay, but hopefully your players at home are knee-deep in the playoffs as opposed to knee-deeply bandaged up. So key players that might be having injury designation heading into the week or has already been confirmed out for week 16. Daniels, looks like they have decided to shelve him the rest of the season. I think that word just came out. And, of course, if you have Geno Smith at Vegas, you probably were not playing him to begin with, hopefully, if that were the case. If you look at the running back spot, not too many surprises there. Really only a couple names are popping up that really surprised me. Marks from Houston. We knew Chubb was already dinged up. But now Bam from Arizona going to IR is what it looks like at this point in time. So that is going to open up some other options for some people, perhaps on the receiver list. Not a lot of surprises there. Probably the best thing to do is keep a watch for who you think your bread and butter is. It might have been Harrison from Arizona, might have been T. Higgins or Dunze or Adams. Those guys.
Dang, that Odunze surprise fit probably got a lot of people in trouble this week.
Perhaps, but I mean, how many people are actually starting Odunze to begin with religiously? I mean, I've got him on my team. I think I may have started him once or twice, maybe total this season. I mean, yeah, I'm hopefully people had deeper options than Odunze to rely on him, but yeah, certainly not opportune for him to pull up with injuries and be out for multiple weeks the way he has. But I think I'd be most concerned about Devontae Adams with a hammy. That usually does not go well in the short term, and so you could be looking maybe a couple weeks off. But again, it's Devontae Adams. You just don't know.
He's not been ruled out yet.
Not been ruled out, and he will try to not rule himself out either. He will try to give it a go, even if he probably shouldn't. But again, everybody at home, watch the injury designations as we start heading into those games. I believe we said the Rams play Thursday. So that's coming up really quick, guys. So again, if you had a weekend game, it probably was going to be playing better in your favor. But again, keep an eye on the status. I know I will be. I've got Adams on one of my teams too. And nobody of note from the tight end group showed up on the injury report. So looking at the waiver wire options that might be what you need to fill in some of the blanks, or as I'm calling it this week, I am knee deep in roster issues and I need another player. And as always, your situation at home would likely dictate who or if you should even pick up some of these players that may or may not be available in your league. Just keep in mind also where you're at in terms of how many weeks left you have. Where's your waiver situation in terms of number to pick up in those leagues, because you might need to go for broke if you're in the final week. So let's take a peek at who we think might be, somebody who could help fill in a need. So, Susan.
All right. My pick is Darren Waller, Miami tight end. Holy moly, did he ball out this weekend. So he is only 38% rostered. He only played 54% of the snaps, but he had 8 targets, 7 receptions for 66 yards, and 2 tutties. Now, touchdowns are not a sticky stat, right? But 8 targets and 7 receptions, that's pretty dang good. So if you're in a PPR league, that's, sorry, I got to do math. You're looking at 13 and a half points just right there.
Yeah.
And this week, they are playing Cincinnati, which cannot guard the tight end at all. So pick up Darren Waller, Champagne. If I were you, I would see if Waller was on your waiver wire rather than Parkinson. But because only 38% rostered.
I watched that game and he just looked like a man child over that secondary. It's like, yeah, all you had to do is throw that jump ball and you knew who was going to come down with it. It was not going to be the defense. I've only seen a couple times where you see that much of a discrepancy between the receiver, and the linemen, and one of them is in high school.
The other Darnell Washington was that good.
Yeah, right. And the other one is actually back at Lakes High School and up in Illinois. That's when TJ Edwards played for Lakes High School. So we got to see some games with him, and he looked like a man child just standing above the entire line. Yeah, he was that good back then, and it's great seeing he's had a good career. Now he's with the Bears, but really cool. All right, Adam, who might be that person to fill in that need?
I'm zagging off my guy, and I'm going to go the second guy, and I'm going to start with Kirk Cousins, because realistically right now you're picking up waiver. I mentioned it last week. You're picking up somebody to block another person, or you're picking up someone because you need. So I'm going to focus on our owners of Jaden Daniels, our owners of Patrick Mahomes. Right now, if you're a single quarterback at this point in the year, you might have dropped them to pick up that backup running back in case your running back goes down. You're not planning to lose. Jaden Daniels, you probably are covered, but Alexa, stop talking to me. But you're she just, I was like, what am I talking to you, girl? But with Mahomes, you're done. My buddy's in trouble. So Kirk Cousins has looked terrible, absolutely miserable recently, and then all of a sudden last week he balled out. What was I just switched over? He had 373 yards and 3 tutties versus the Buccaneers. Bring on the Arizona Cardinals, a team that's been giving up some yards. Kirk Cousins, Darren Waller, not Darren, Kyle Pitts rather, and they're saying Drake London might make an appearance in Arizona this week. So, and then Bijan, I mean, realistically, Kirk Cousins could probably get 400 yards just dumping off and letting Bijan run down the field. So if
I didn't know it, you were actually more of an Atlanta fan than a Miami or a Denver fan, because you're all over Atlanta, like white on rice right now. From our gallery here, Cousins or Stroud? You're high on Cousins, maybe for the matchup this week. But if you had
Stroud plays the Raiders, though. Stroud's better.
So, yeah, I take Stroud.
Yeah,
right.
I'd take
there
Stroud.
You go. There you go.
But yeah, and Cousin is only owned. I just had 15% of sleeper leagues, so he's there. He blow your fab on him. Hopefully, you have a high waiver pick. If so, throw him on your bench. If for two reasons: one, block the Mahomes owner. Two, if you're the Mahomes owner, you will need.
Yeah. And the person I would first throw out for the waiver wire pickups would be Michael Carter, running back Arizona. We saw some chat room fodder in there as well. We'll pull that in here in a second. For me, it's not even a matter of what the percentage owned is at this point. I think you hit it on it right, Adam, which is you're picking up for need at this point in time. If you need a running back, he's going to be the guy. It's the carousel this year at the Arizona running back spot. It's like whoever's there is only there for a short amount of time. If you only need that 1 week wonder, throw in Michael Carter at that point because you know he's going to get the touches because there's no other game in town. Bam Knight's on the IR now. Benson's on the IR. So you're playing for any points you can scrap at this point in time because your waiver wire at the running back spot is probably going to be fairly depleted unless you're looking at an injury situation. And we've had a lot of those at the running back spot. So that's who I'd go with my first waiver pickup. Susan, let's go around the table again. What else you got?
While we're talking about Michael Carter, though, can we go ahead and do these real quick?
Oh, might as well pop it in. Or absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, who to drop? I'm talking to either Shakir or Jaden Reed.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a toss-up. I mean, Reed, you're talking about one of several Packer receivers. So, but then you're also talking about
Reed is my next pickup. My waiver wire pickup.
Oh, what a segue
so, I mean,
there.
Because Watson is going to be out, I think. Have we seen updates on his injury?
They haven't said yet. When I looked this morning.
And Reed had 6 targets, 5 receptions for 55 yards. So I think his target share is going to go up if Watson is out. I need to look at Shakir's numbers, but let me just pull them up.
They're playing next week versus Bears. Not ruling out yet.
And they're playing Buffalo's playing Cleveland. So I worry that Shakir might get games scripted out because I think Buffalo's going to go up on them
and then not need to pass. And they've got too many mouths to feed up there. You know, same as Green Bay. So many mouths to feed, but if you're talking about one less mouth to feed in Green Bay, then Reed's stock might be.
I think I would drop
a little bit.
I think I would drop Shakir in this situation to pick up Carter, but I don't think I would start Michael Carter over Judkins this week.
Yeah, and that's kind of the tough flavor.
Over
start
Michael
Carter
Carter
over Judkins or not. I've gotten burned by Judkins on multiple occasions, including this past week. Matthew Berry, this is a must-start running back. No, I must not start him because look what happens when you do. So maybe you don't listen to some of the notable guys and say, sorry, I'm gonna listen to myself next time. Judkins did not have a very good game last week, but that again was because it was Cleveland and at Chicago and with Shador, and there were just so many factors against him. There's no way Judkins was gonna have a good game. So I would probably go with Carter myself in that situation.
Yeah, I'd go Judkins just because Buffalo is a run funnel defense. You're able more to run on Buffalo than you are to pass on them. But again, you're risking, can they even get down the field? Do you know what the weather is going to be like for this game?
I just was looking at that. Darn it.
I don't know.
Because,
Cleveland was like 39 degrees.
Looks like it's going to be
those are all
cloudy,
things to consider.
But no elements in
I
the
personally would start Judkins over Carter. But Adam, what about you?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Adam?
Yeah. I think no matter what, we're going to pick him. But I'd start Judkins is who you start. He's the better player. It's coming down to one of those things versus it's the fantasy playoffs. So realistically, if you're having to play Michael Carter in the quarterfinals of your championship game, you're on the struggle bus anyway. But he does have Carter and Judkins. I mean, I'm a believer in unless the horse you're riding is broken, and Judkins just happens to have had a bad week. Otherwise, I mean, they're giving him the goal line Wildcats. If we remember the last 2 weeks before this. So
that was also a mistake too when they did.
That was a terrible mistake. But prior to that, he's been scoring on those. That was just a terrible end of the game call. But otherwise, he's been getting a bunch of those Wildcats.
Yeah. And ordinarily, I would agree with you play with who you think the better player is. But when you look at other situations, it doesn't pan out that way. Like Jefferson, I can't even play Jefferson now, and he is amongst the best receivers in the league. But I just can't play him. So in that theory, it's like, yeah, he's the better player. He's the better receiver on paper, but I have to go with somebody that I think I can get those points.
Get you to the playoffs.
No.
No.
So I don't know. I think it's come Monday, it'd be an interesting reassessment of who actually had a better statistical game between Carter and Judkins. I think we're definitely split on this one here. Yeah, it's a matter of who's the better player versus what that floor might look like as a running back on that team. So, all right, great stuff there. All right, I don't see anything else here necessarily. We can certainly circle back to the chat room if we see something here, but I think all good takes there. Adam, I think we covered your waiver moves, yes, and Susan, I think we covered yours.
Talk about real quick. Mariota, get Mariota's there. A funny stat to throw out as we move on. Mariota started. He has 3 games where he had exactly 213 yards. 1 game where he had 211.
Yeah.
So if you need a body, like there's those 3 quarterbacks, realistically, bid on them if you're going against the Mahomes guy. If the Mahomes guy's out of the playoffs, don't worry about it. It doesn't really matter. If you're in a 2-quarterback league, build them. Look at your league. But I'd throw it out there because he's not been great, but he's not been terrible. He's probably better than Philly Rivers.
All right, my last waiver wire pickup, and yes, I will call this out. I put out there last week T-Law, Trevor Lawrence from Jacksonville. Pick him up for weeks 15 and 17. So don't play in week 16. They're playing against Denver. And of course, last week he lit it up, 6 touchdowns. So I'll pat myself on the back for that one, even though I never picked him up. Sorry, guys. But again, pick him up as a stash just for week 17. If you're going to be playing week 17, if you're going to pick him up, do not play him this week necessarily. They're playing against Denver. Hopefully you've got different options at your disposal. I'm not saying that he's going to have a horrible game, but that's one of those riskier plays, I think, if you want to play T-Law against that Denver defense.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Let's talk about little Jimmy. We called him out last week. We have a segment on our show called Start and Set. We have our little Jimmy coin that we flip. Props to Tank Talk podcast for the inspiration. And maybe you've got a couple players you're not sure who to decide on. Just like we saw in the chat rooms, save yourself the pressure. Use the Start Sit coin featured our character Little Jimmy. Flip him, whatever he lands on. Do that with the player. If it goes well, great job. If it doesn't, it's not your fault. Little Jimmy did it. So the worst thing is not flip him at all. Again, we called out Little Jimmy last week as being a little liar, trying to give us incorrect picks. And as soon as we called out Little Jimmy on it, he fooled us again. He said Shedeur Sanders, and he was right. Sanders had an epic fail against Chicago, and that was an epic beatdown. But for people at home, consider flipping Little Jimmy yourself. You can do this by getting your own Little Jimmy Start and Set coins at fantasyturfwar.com or message any of us on social media. We'll get you connected. It's $5 plus shipping. And this week, interestingly enough, we're going to talk about Travis Kelce, tight end for Kansas City. He's had a good season so far, 795 in terms of receiving yards, a boatload of catches, 67 out of 97 targets. But now he's without Mahomes. And so we're not sure what Little Jimmy would say about this. They are playing at Tennessee. We talked about that. Maybe this is a comfort game for Gardner Minshew to maybe figure out things for that offense in the short term, or maybe even going to the next year. But Kelsey is projected at 8.41 points if you're scoring by half PPR. So, Adam, what is little Jimmy trying to tell us this week?
He says, set Travis Kelsey.
Sit him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's wrong.
We
I'll go
said
for
that
it.
last week
You're not.
too.
You're,
Talk to us, Susan. What? Give us some rationale behind this one.
well, I mean, Adam brought it up that once Minshew got on the field, he started targeting Kelsey. He is going to be the dump off option. He gets right in the middle of the field. Minshew, well, he can pass it. Like he can sling it downfield if he wants to. That's not like a problem for Minshew. But he's going to be able to be the release valve for the end of for this. So they're playing Tennessee. I just can't imagine sitting. I mean, he's the number 2 tight end on the year for a reason. So
8.41 points half PPR, and the last several weeks he's been fluctuating plus or minus right around that area. Adam, your take on little Jimmy? Is he screwing around with us again?
Oh, I said Kelsey's my number 3 tight end on the week.
Yeah.
So I can't say that he's going to score 8 points unless nobody else scores points. It's Tennessee. Tennessee's terrible.
We said the same thing with Shedeur Sanders. Like, they're only projecting Shedeur for 10 points, really? Surely he's going to get a lot more than that. And we all jumped on that bandwagon, and little Jimmy was right that time. Shedeur put up horrible numbers. And it looks like on paper, all the points you guys have raised seem to be right on target. As always, you guys are experts. But if we know that that's Gardner's outlet, then doesn't every other team know that too? If I'm trying to play against Kansas City, I want to take Kelsey out of the equation. Make Gardner throw it downfield because I don't know that he can. I mean, yes, we know he can throw it, but he's gonna be rusty. I know it's a Tennessee.
They're going to have to account for Rice. Though, because Rice is so talented. They're not going to be able – I don't think they're going to be able to shut Kelsey down the way that they probably want to because of Rice. And Kareem Hunt has been playing decently. So there is – while it's not like the best run game in the NFL, he has been okay. And so – they're going to have to actually account for some of the other weapons. And so I think that's going to leave opportunity for Kelsey to get open.
A better defense, you probably could cover your bases better, but this is Tennessee, and I think you guys are right. I think it'd be so easy to jump on the bandwagon that little Jimmy says sit when he's really trying to fool us, and Kelsey could have a good day. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon with you guys. I think he has a pretty good day. Gardner's going to have to throw it somewhere. You're going to have to either dump it to Hunt and have him take some nice passes out of the backfield, or you're going to have Kelsey run some out routes or underneath routes just to give Gardner some confidence before he can start launching it downfield. So, yeah, I think little Jimmy says sit, and I think this week we're calling little Jimmy little liar again. All right, well done, guys. Well done.
Hopefully we're right.
Yeah, and hopefully we're right because we missed it last
I needed to be right. I got Kelsey on 2 teams. 2 of my better teams. The other ones.
There you go.
That's awesome. All right, I don't see any of their feedback in the show, so that's probably going to do it for us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate all the comments in the chat rooms. We appreciate you guys streaming us, even if it's not live when you're watching us. But if you feel like you got value out of the show, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe, share the show with everybody you know. Bring somebody with you next time. And as always, tons of fun tonight with my partners in crime. Susan, where can we find you?
TikTok and Instagram. I'm there. Come ask me questions if you've got them. Adam. Do this way.
Fantasy Couriers, we record it. Yeah, I'm all over the place too. We record every Sunday night. Then we lead us over to here. Check us out every week where we're going into the off season. So getting you ready for dynasty stuff coming up pretty much as we get through the championships. January is all guys that made us mad, guys that we love, guys that we're looking forward to. And whoever wins the charity league that we run gets to come on and do a guest spot on there as well. It's kind of a fun little thing. But then again, I'm in the top 4 of that, so we'll see what happens. I might get to go on my own show as the champion. We'll see how it goes out.
How do you feel?
But yeah, and you can check out, I got rankings on fantasycouriers.com, links down there, I guess, as well as articles, which nothing's popped up for me to do this week. I don't know if they're just done for the season doing articles as far as for Fantasy Pros.
So just hypothetically, if you were a guest on your own show, would you ever disagree with yourself?
I wouldn't have to. Depends what
All right. And I am, of course, Cameron. I'm here to help support Shelter Dogs for Veterans. And as we close out each of our shows, and as Commissioner Corey closes it out, be excellent to each other. Be kind. Until next time, keep moving forward. See you guys. And we're that close to Christmas, everybody. So look forward to next week's show as well.
Crazy.
We'll see you guys.